to my goal getters, my planner ladies, my type A girlies. I love you, I am you, and this video is for you. Probably some of the things that I'm gonna say in this video are gonna sound crazy. Honestly, I think they would have sounded crazy to me a few years ago, but I promise you, like, this is how I set my decluttering goals now. This is how I set a lot of my goals now. And this works. For something that is not your job, this, I feel like, is the best way to actually go about setting a goal. So without further ado, may I present how to set realistic decluttering goals and achieve them. Step 1, change your expectations. If you want to be able to set realistic decluttering goals and achieve them, we have to make our first stop at expectation station. I think most of us expect decluttering to go something like this. First, we're gonna do this big, huge declutter. It's gonna be this massive effort, but it's gonna pay off because at the end, our house is gonna be perfect. It's gonna be spotless. That's not really what you're signing up for if you want to declutter your stuff and live a life with less clutter in your house. What you're signing up for is a lifestyle of decluttering. You can't expect to get to a point with your possessions where you feel like you got it down perfectly. When you're setting your expectations for a decluttering goal, you need to start not with thinking, hey, I want, the house to look spotless, or, oh, hey, I want, X, Y, Z to be clutter-free. You have to start with thinking about, how am I going to set a goal that makes this a lifestyle for me? How is it going to be sustainable? I think that for most of us, it requires two things. First of all, setting smaller goals than maybe we want to. If you are like me and you have perfectionistic tendencies, this is the first hurdle, right? Like, setting a realistic goal that doesn't seem good enough for your perfectionism is one of the ways that you will overcome that and actually be able to make real progress. The second thing, if you are okay with setting small goals, and maybe you already are setting small goals, is to think about the type of goal that you're making. Are you setting a goal that, involves a rhythm of decluttering? Are you, thinking about how often you're going to declutter, or are you just like sort of making the end point your goal? I don't think there's any problem with making a goal that involves your end point, but you have to include the habit as part of the goal if it's going to be realistic, achievable, and sustainable. And that's ultimately what we want, right? Like, we don't just want to have our homes looking nice for a day. We want to be able to carry that decluttering through our lives. Which brings me to step number 2, which is to assess your time, motivations, and energy. Once you have prepared yourself for the fact that this is going to be an ongoing process, it's not going to be this like one and done goal that you just need to find the right way to do, you're now prepared to figure out how much time you actually have to give to this goal. I would start first with assessing how much time you have to give to decluttering, because this one is, I feel like, the most cut and dried. Like, you either have time for it or you don't. And I know a lot of us squeeze too many things into our schedules. I'm guilty of that as well. But really, like, take a look at your calendar, your schedule, your planner, whatever you use, and think about how much time you actually have to give on a day-to-day basis to decluttering. This doesn't mean that you have to schedule in a time slot to declutter every single day. It actually just means you're looking at, how much time can I realistically give to this? What days do I have, 15 minutes or so that I can declutter? How much time do I want to spend decluttering? I recommend keeping it to less than an hour, especially if you are not in the habit of decluttering. And also, like, what days and times of day work best for me to declutter. After that, I want you to think about your motivation for decluttering. So, like, what is motivating you to declutter? Sometimes we're motivated by the fact that we want our space to feel better, like it's stressing us out. Sometimes we're motivated by the fact that, like, maybe we have family coming over and we don't want them to think we live in a pigsty, or like whatever. Any of those motivations are fine. They're valid. If it involves other people, make sure that you're doing it also for yourself and not just for people pleasing, or try to find a way to do it for yourself, because I don't know if you're like me, but oftentimes if I am doing something because I think that that's what I need to do for other people, I just really, really don't want to do it. I really dread it because I feel like I'm never going to measure up to their standards, or at least the standards that I've imagined that they have in my head. And so if there's a way that you can make it about your goals and what you would like and the joy that it's going to bring to your life, I think that's good. But also, like, sometimes it just is what it is. Like, oh, you don't want to be embarrassed when people come over. That is what it is. So think about your motivation for doing those things. Think about like your overall motivation, and then think about how motivated you feel on a day-to-day basis to do that decluttering. And then finally, assess your energy. And I'm not talking about like vibrations here. I'm talking about like your actual physical and mental energy for doing decluttering. At this point, you've assessed your time, you've thought about like what time slots might work. And so think about, how do you feel during those time slots? So like, for example, if you've identified that like evenings are a good time for you to declutter because you often have, 30 minutes free in the evenings, think about like what your energy levels are throughout the evening. Like, do you come home from work and you're really exhausted? If that's the case, then like right after you get home from work, it's probably not a good time to declutter. I would say like, that doesn't mean you can't do it. But if you come home from work exhausted, it might be a good idea to like take a little bit of a nap or a little bit of a breather on the couch, like set a timer maybe, or whatever works for you. I don't love timers, but whatever works for you, take a little bit of a breather and then do your decluttering. After that, maybe you need to eat. Maybe actually like, you just need some time to settle in to your house, and then later in the evening you can do it. Whatever you need to do, just think about your energy, like how much your body is going to really want to move and make these tough decisions, and try to support yourself and create an environment where you're going to have less resistance inside of you to decluttering when the time comes. And then once you've sort of mapped out a plan for all of that, just make sure that that's a sustainable habit and rhythm for you. I feel like this is a step where you can get discouraged, but it's really worth taking a hard look at your time, your reasons for doing this, your energy that you have to do this, because that will help you really have a realistic picture of what you can give to this process right now. And whatever you can give is enough. Which leads me to step 3, which is to accept reality. I don't want you to be discouraged. I want this to actually be a very freeing process for you to realize that you can reject the perfectionism that you have in your mind about decluttering and minimalism and how your space has to look, and actually like develop a habit of decluttering that gives you the benefits of having fewer things. So for this third step, I need you to hang with me, don't get too discouraged, and just accept reality for you, what that means for you and your decluttering process and your decluttering goals. Now, accepting reality does not mean that you go, oh, well, I guess I'm just never gonna have time and I'm never gonna be good at this, so why even try? I'm just gonna like push that off and forget about it. Accepting reality means you prepare for a long haul. You're not trying to like carve out big chunks of time and summon up all your energy and willpower and motivation to get this big declutter done right away, because you know that this sustainable change is going to happen along the way. Second, you get to decide preemptively that you are going to kick perfectionism out of your thought processes, out of your brain for this goal. So you're accepting reality. You're saying like, hey, I know that I have this like vision of what the perfect home looks like, and I am going to give myself the gift of saying that I don't have to achieve that. I want to live in a tidy, clean home, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Accepting reality also means that you're honest with yourself about how much time and energy you have to give to this process, and you're okay with the fact that it may take a little bit longer. And then finally, if you do have a deadline or a time by which you would like to be finished with your decluttering process, you are realistic with yourself if that is too close, or if you're going to struggle to meet it, and you're able to be flexible on that. What you're doing here is trying to take that picture that we've talked about in our minds and paring it back down to something that is realistic and attainable for you so that you don't end up getting discouraged during this process. Which leads me to step number 4, which is set your goal. Now remember, the title of this video is how to set realistic decluttering goals and achieve them. So this isn't the last goal, but this is the part you've been waiting for, right? Like this is the part where you finally get to set your decluttering goal so that you can get started working on it. And I actually only have one piece of advice on setting this goal. I guess I have more than one, but one main one that I want you to take away, and it's this. Set a goal that seems too small for you, that seems too easy, too achievable. Now, you can make this goal a SMART goal if you want. You can look that up if you don't know what it is. I personally am not a big fan of SMART goals. I find that they stress me out. So for example, if being in your living room stresses you out and you want to declutter it, think about like, what's the first place that your eyes go when you're sitting on your couch trying to relax in your living room or your chair, like whatever, wherever you like to sit in your living room. What's the first place that you look that stresses you out? Maybe it's the top of your TV cabinet. Maybe it's like, a table that you got there. Maybe it's a bookshelf. Whatever that is, make decluttering that thing your goal. Just that thing, not the whole room, just that thing. And honestly, you can stop there. You can just set that goal and then move on to the next step. But if you like to have like some sort of like future plan, like I often want to know the step that I'm doing and then like the next few steps that I'm planning, you can also set an overarching goal. And this definitely should not be a SMART goal. The other one can be. This one needs to be a vibe. It needs to be based more on like how you want to feel when you use a specific space. I know you want your whole home decluttered. I do too. Get in line. But the thing is, like, for me, what I found to be true is that I never quite have my whole home decluttered at once, right? The amount of time that it takes me to do one room and then the next room, by the time that I am finished with the last room, the first room has already started to, have things be left out. There's some clutter. There's some things maybe I didn't notice. And that's okay. That's life. So what I'm trying to help you avoid here is getting overly discouraged by setting too big of an overarching goal. I think a great way to continue with our living room example would be to go, I want to feel relaxed in my living room. Notice that doesn't mean that like it has to look like a show place. It just has to be a comforting, cozy, not super cluttered and chaotic environment. And then when you're planning like your next week of decluttering, you go, okay, what's next? What bothers me next about this room? Until you get the room to a point where you do feel comfortable in it. It's easy to chill in there. That would be my advice on an overarching goal. But again, I don't think that you need to set one of those unless you're just the type of person who likes to know like, okay, after I'm done with this, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, which I am too. So that makes sense. Okay, now step 5 is to implement slower than you want to. And the reason here is very, very simple. A lot of times we set a goal, we get excited, we go. We think, okay, I'm going to be done by this day. It's going to be amazing. Even in just me like talking about that, me reenacting that, like my stress level is starting to rise. Stress starts to rise. And so, what you need to do at this phase after you set your goal and probably once you've started working on it is to implement it slower than you would like. If you think something should take you a week, plan on it taking you 2 weeks, because you're never going to mind if a project takes less time, but it is really, really easy to get discouraged if you haven't allotted enough time, even if it's just in your mind and there's no like hard deadlines. If you haven't allotted enough time for something to happen, it's super easy to get discouraged about how long it's taking. So I just recommend implement it so slow. Like if you have to like physically slow yourself down as you're pulling items off of a shelf because you find like you're just like frantic, do that. If you need to breathe, if you need to take breaks, do all of those things. And then like step number 5, step number 6 is one that you're going to need to apply over and over and over again throughout the decluttering process. And that is to give yourself grace. Like we all make mistakes. We all mess up. You're a human. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to get rid of things that you, in retrospect, maybe wouldn't have wanted to get rid of. You're allowed to keep things that in retrospect, maybe you shouldn't have kept, right? Like all of those things are fine. You're allowed to take as long as you want. You're allowed to go as slowly as you want. You're allowed to make it look however you want when you're done. Like give yourself grace, because it is really, really easy at this point in the process to think that things should be going quicker or things should be looking better, or you are a failure for having this many things in the beginning. And what I am telling you is that that's not the case. Like, you need to give yourself a break. We all struggle with our possessions. That's why, like, I've been decluttering my life for 10 years. I will probably be decluttering my stuff for the rest of my life. That's why there's so many minimalism decluttering channels on YouTube. There's people who have written books about this. Like, this is something that, especially in like consumeristic societies, we have a problem with. And it's not just you, and you are brave for doing something to change that. And it takes a lot of emotional energy. It takes a lot of like mental bandwidth, and give yourself grace. If you don't feel like doing it, give yourself grace. If you feel like you're not going fast enough, give yourself grace. It is okay. And I will tell you that over and over and over again in my videos, because it is okay. And I know I need to hear that. And I know that you probably need to hear that sometimes too. And then the final step 7, is to recognize your progress. I think that I and a lot of us have this tendency that, like, when we're doing something like decluttering that feels like responsible or feels maybe like we're cleaning up our own messes, we don't give ourselves the permission to recognize the progress that we're making or celebrate that or give ourselves a little pat on the back until like it's done, like until we reach that big goal that I've been trying to help you tone down throughout this entire video. This is one of the last ways that perfectionism crops up in your decluttering process. It will tell you like that the progress that you've made isn't valid, that it's not good enough to recognize or to bask in. And while that sounds cool, that sounds tough, what really happens then is you tell yourself that you did all that work for nothing. And you're not doing all that work for nothing. Like, if you have ever cleaned even a small thing out in your house, you know that it makes a big difference. Yeah, like it might take you 15 minutes to declutter a table. That's fine. If it makes your experience in that room great, cool. Stand back, admire your work. That is telling yourself that the work that you're doing matters, that you can continue to do it. And that is a good way to keep encouraging yourself to keep doing this. Again, I said it at the beginning, I will say this again. Decluttering as a habit is going to get you much, much better results and give you much more benefits in your life. And if you don't recognize the progress that you're making every single time that you do declutter, it's going to be a lot tougher to want to do it the next time and the next time and the next time and the next time. So my advice to you, and also like to myself, honestly, is for all of us to be really, really, really aware of the progress that we're making, and not in a way that's like, oh, like, wow, look how amazing I am, I cleaned off a table, but like recognizing how it feels to be in that space, giving yourself that little boost of like, okay, I did this and it made a difference. And next time I want to put forth that much effort, it'll make a difference again. And I think that you will find that it's much easier to get into that rhythm of decluttering every single time and to achieve any of these decluttering goals that you set out to accomplish once you have that rhythm of, first of all, like working slower than you want, giving yourself grace, and then recognizing the progress that you make along the way. And I feel like I've spent a lot of this video like talking about how to accept reality and sort of like lowering your expectations. And I know that can be really discouraging and kind of a bummer. So I hope it wasn't too awful of an experience for you, but I do really think that if you use this process, you make your goals smaller so that you can work on them at a sustainable but still, leisurely pace, that this is where like the real decluttering happens. This is how you're actually going to declutter your house and keep the clutter down for your whole life. So try it. Let me know how it goes. I am really excited for you, and I hope that it works out and that your life is freer and more full of things that you love and less full of things that you don't need as a result. And then of course, if you enjoyed this video, you've set your realistic goals and you want some help with implementation, I have some really good tips in this video. Otherwise, I will see you in my next decluttering video.